Life is messy and unpredictable.
Being able to find joy in the weeds of life is so important. I'm Beth.
And I'm Kim, and we are so glad you've joined us as we figure out how to hold joy in one hand and struggle in the other.
Welcome to Joy in the Weeds. Hello.
You're laughing already? What was that?
There's something about the sitting here waiting for that intro to go away.
Yeah, there's like a couple seconds. Like it seems long.
Yeah.
When there's no more music.
It is. I'm not sure if that's the program that we use or the platform that we use to record this, or if that's actually, in the recorded part. But anyway, whatever.
Yeah,
we're here.
It is. We have to wait. We have to wait in silence.
Yep. So today is just you and me.
Yes, just the two of us. We can make it if we can. Is that how it goes?
I don't know, Kim, but you are.
We can make it if we try. That's what it is.
You have the soundtrack going all the time.
I do.
So funny.
My Enneagram 4-ness is what it is. All this music.
Really?
In my head. I think so.
Okay. Well, so today we decided that we are going to do an anniversary one.
Yes, because
to air in July. Yes. It is July right now, by the way.
Yes, it is.
It's not like this is, months ahead or anything like that. But it's just a couple weeks before our anniversary.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what are you doing for your anniversary?
I have no idea. Oh. There's this thing. It's called a sunflower something or other, but it's a car show. I thought it was about sunflowers. I wanted to go. It's like about 45 minutes away from here, and I wanted to go to it, but it's a car show, and I don't really care about cars, so we're probably not going to go to it. We don't normally. It's really sad. We don't normally celebrate our anniversary. Well, we I don't. That was not modeled to me. And my mom's birthday is the day after her anniversary with her husband. And they never, when I grew up, they didn't celebrate anything. So we have a tendency in our house, we do birthdays and we do Christmas, but not much else. And I've been trying to change that, but
I was going to say, what if it's wonderful, Kim?
What if Exactly. I think my anniversary is on a Friday. Is yours on Thursday? Because yours is the day before mine. I think.
Mine is on Sabbath.
Oh, really? Then mine must be on Sunday.
Mine is on Sabbath.
Oh, then mine is on a Sunday. I could take my husband away somewhere. Maybe we'll go to the beach. Oh, that's a good idea. We'll just go to the beach. He doesn't know, but we'll go to the beach.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, Chris and I, very exciting, are going to be in Hawaii.
That is delightful.
Which we leave a week from today. And I just cannot wait. I just cannot wait. We're going for a family reunion. My family is originally from there, so my mom's side of the family. So we're going for a family reunion, and then which is really it's my great grandmother's descendants. So
wow,
people I've never met.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, and then we're gonna stay for a while and spend some time and
well needed time.
Come back after our anniversary. So that's very exciting.
That's nice.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Good. Yeah.
So we thought we would, for our anniversary, talk about marriage.
Yes, because
it's one of our favorite topics.
It really is, because we're both blissfully happily married. And you're married, your anniversary, let's just, because some people may not know, they may not have heard the previous years of when we.
Yeah.
So why don't we tell them? Tell them your anniversary, how long?
It'll be July 23. We will have been married 33 years.
Yes. And we are July 24, and we will have been married 34 years. I just think that's the funniest.
It's the funniest.
I love it.
Oh
I
my
love it.
word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I it's just that we were just talking about last night. It's just how unbelievable it is. It's been 33 years.
It feels like that's a long time when you say the number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A long time. And it's so good. Like n
Yeah.
to everyone out there who thinks that marriage, like, how can you be married to the same person for that long and it's, like, be exciting? Oh my word, it can be so exciting.
Oh, it gets better.
It just gets better and better
It
and
really
better.
does.
Oh,
It
better and
really
better and
does.
better. Yeah.
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 But there's things, I mean, it doesn't just evolve into better. There's components that you have to have in the relationship that with those things in the relationship, that's what makes it better. And that's what makes it grow and just evolve into this. I've always said
So
it's a little piece of heaven on earth.
yeah. I've always said marriage is either heaven or hell.
Well, yes.
There's, like, very little there's rarely in between, let's put it that way.
Yeah. Which is really sad.
Mhm.
Really is. Because it's not what God wanted for us. God wanted, I mean, aside from the submission, what are the authority talk of Ephesians 5, aside from
Jeez,
that,
Kim,
we're
let's
not
not start
we're
there.
not gonna go there, because that is not how my marriage works. Um, it really is supposed to mirror the love of God. Marriage it marriage is designed to mirror how much God loves us.
Yeah. So we just thought today we would share some of our favorite what do you want what should we call it?
Well,
Uh,
you said marriage advice.
yeah, I don't know if that's a good word.
Yeah, sounds yucky.
It does sound yucky. Sounds like a bunch of shoulds, and we don't
And we
should.
don't shit on ourselves.
No. So, maybe it's just look, you guys are just in on a conversation,
Yeah.
and we are just gonna share some of the things that have worked for us or some of the things that
Mm,
we really love.
mm,
Both things that we do, that we experience, things that he does that
mhm,
he doesn't do. Um,
mm.
yeah, things that contribute to us after 33 and 34 years being able to say it just gets better and better and better. At least
And
that's been our experience. And I think it's so important to say it's our experience because different personalities, different situations. Like in preparing for this, I was asking Chris about it, and he said, I just feel like it's one of the biggest contributing factors for us being so happy for so long is that it's our personalities. Like, it's just who we are. And it works really well together. But it's obviously there are things that we choose every day, right?
for
That make
sure,
a huge difference
for sure.
and contribute to that. So whatever it is, I don't want to say advice, tips, whatever. It's just us. It's what works for us.
I find it amusing that in thinking about this and in doing your quote unquote research, you talked to Chris, um, and I went online and got stuff from John Gottman, who is a marriage researcher for over 40 years.
Okay, Cam. I don't know what that says about me, but okay.
Well, I'm thinking, well, I should have asked my husband. I mean, this is about relationships.
Speaking of which, so tell us about that. Tell us about him and who he is and his research so people can find it. It is some of the best that I've ever come across.
Yeah,
Yeah.
John Gottman and his wife, can't remember her name, Julie, have been studying marriages for 35, 40 years, maybe even more.
Mhm.
And they have this thing called the Love Lab in Seattle, and they put couples in there and they basically watch them, and there's things that they watch for depending on what it is that they're researching, and they have come up with seven basic principles that occur in happy marriages. So the
Hmm.
idea is if these things are you look at happy couples and these things are going on. So hopefully, conversely, if you do these things, you will create happy couples.
Hmm.
They also can predict within 95% accuracy whether a couple will divorce, and they can do that in like 5 minutes. They can
Yeah.
watch
Oh
a
my god.
couple. They watch a couple fight. Really, they bring a contentious thing. They watch them fight, and within 5 minutes, they can predict within 95% accuracy whether that couple will divorce or not.
It
Which
is
I
really
find
fascinating
fascinating.
research. Yeah.
It really is.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So go for it. Give me one
Oh,
of those things.
yeah. Well,
Maybe I'll find out I don't have a happy marriage. No, I'm just
no,
kidding.
actually, I know you do because as I'm looking at these, it's like, well, yeah, that kind of what we do. Um, the first one that they mention is they call it a love map, but really it's about knowing each other. It's
Hmm.
about knowing like like things that are happening in their lives now, but also stuff about their childhood, like what's their favorite memory, who was their best friend growing up, what's causing them stress in their life today. Um, all those kinds of things, just really knowing your partner,
Wow.
knowing the ins and outs of who they are, how they tick, what they love, what they hate, what makes them afraid, what brings them joy, all those things.
All right. So Kim, how do you and Tim find out those things?
Well, God bless Tim, his wife is a therapist.
Okay, but what does a therapist do?
She asks a lot of questions. Actually, I I don't it's not like we sat well, actually, that's not true. There was one time about 4 years ago, I sat down, we went out to supper. We were at camp meeting, and Tim had the evening off, and we went and had supper, and I just sat and I just asked him a lot of questions. It's like, "What do you dream of? What are your hopes for? What are you most afraid of?" And it was really very current. And he looked at me, he said, no one has ever spent an hour
Hmm.
just asking me questions about myself.
Wow.
I think in the bigger picture of life, it's just conversations. It's just taking walks together. It's asking questions. It's being curious. It's being vulnerable. It's being willing to be open. Um, so I think for the most part, for me and Tim, a lot of it has been our own personal healing journey, bringing that to each other,
Hmm.
um, and just
I
hanging out. How do you and Chris do it?
Yeah, I love to ask questions. In fact, I have a friend who one time told me I needed to write a book of questions because she said to
Mm,
me, she goes, I can never think of questions.
mm,
And
mm,
I just,
mhm.
whew, I am always filled with questions that I want to ask. So asking a lot of questions, but you can ask and not really listen. And I think that it's so
Yes.
important
Yeah.
to listen and to observe.
Yes. Observing.
In
Yeah.
this process of moving this time, we've had there have been so many changes and so many things we're trying to navigate, and it's been really fascinating just watching each other and paying attention to
Mhm.
simple things like when we're house hunting, the things that are more important to one than to the other, and
Mm.
why they're more important, and trying to navigate, trying to figure that out. And it really comes from listening and paying attention.
Mhm.
Like at
Mhm.
one point, um we've been talking about this for weeks, right? And we're with the realtor, and Chris says something like just one little tiny thing. And it was about a house we had seen previously. And when he said it, I realized like a whole bunch of things came together, and I much better
Mm.
understood what was really important to him. And
Mm.
that just came from listening. So definitely paying attention, listening, being
Mhm.
curious about one
Mhm.
another. I mean,
Mhm.
I also think one of the quickest deaths or the things that will shut off the learning process is something that we as women tend to do a lot,
Mm.
which is say, "Well, I know what he thinks. I know what he means. I know what he wants. I know what he would
Mhm.
say."
Mm.
We get really stuck in or the whole concept of, well, he always does.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, always implies there's no hope that there's ever gonna
Right. Right.
anything else could ever
Right.
be.
Right.
And always assuming that there is that hope and leaving it open for there to be the possibility of growth, I think allows it to blossom. In other
Mhm.
words, too often, if we just quickly say that, number one, we aren't listening anymore. We aren't asking the questions because we think we know.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
sometimes even just the process of asking the questions gives them an opportunity to rethink it and to wonder and
Right.
to consider the possibilities. Whereas if we just say, "Oh yeah, well, I know what he's gonna say," well, then it's dead right there. Like it
Right.
just like
Yeah. Right.
you've stopped the opportunity to grow and to
Right.
know.
Right. And they can change their mind. Like, maybe a year ago, they might have said one thing, but now they may say something different because we're constantly changing, we're constantly growing, we're constantly like, there's always something. So to assume that you know what they're gonna say, you may be right, but you may be wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and if you are right, then maybe there's a second question.
Right, exactly.
Why? Or
Yeah.
have you ever thought about you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, there are always opportunity to just decide that shuts off
Mhm.
the opportunity to
Mhm.
discover new or to even, for something to even begin to germinate other
Yeah.
than what has been. So, yeah. So I love questions. I think always questions and always listening.
And always listening. Yeah,
And
that's
always
super important.
curious. There's something about wanting to know him that I think is so incredibly important. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
like
make your spouse the like, your study. Like, that's
yeah.
what you're studying.
Don't you I mean, come on, every single one of us wants to be known,
Yeah.
right? There's something
Yeah.
really important about
Yeah.
that and powerful about that.
Yeah.
And so what a gift you're giving him to really know him. And frankly, look, there's some of us women and some of us men, it's not just a gender thing that because of trauma and or just, you know, trauma.
Mhm.
Let's just leave it
Pretty
there.
much.
They really excuse me, have a are clueless a lot of times to how they feel about things or why they do things or,
Mhm.
like even okay, I told you this when we got on this call that I started having hot flashes again and you said, "Are you stressed?" That was a question I hadn't
Mm.
connected the 2. I still don't know that those 2 things are
Mhm.
connected right
Mhm.
now, but it made me start thinking. And
Mm.
so, those sometimes, you know, we are unaware of how things are connected.
Mhm.
And asking questions can
Mhm.
help us learn
Mhm.
too. So don't
Mhm.
assume that because, or well, he doesn't know. He has no clue. Well, he might not. Frankly, most of the time, never mind. That's a whole nother thing. I'll write it down. Go ahead. Anything else?
I wanna know what you were gonna say, but maybe we need to do that off the air.
No, it's okay. Um, uh, shoot, just slipped my mind. Anyway, go ahead to the next thing. I'll remember
Okay.
it.
Well, the next thing, they call, cultivating fondness and admiration.
Mm.
Look at your smile. There is no doubt that you have fondness for your man.
That
When we
that is that is a true statement.
Yeah, yeah. When we worked at Bass Academy, Tim was a teaching there and the chaplain there, and he would play sports, and every time he would, like, make a goal or 'cause he in hockey or, get the basket or whatever, I would say, "That's my man!" And the kids just loved it.
Uh, Yeah, I think this is also one of those things that is so incredibly powerful
Yes.
and so simple and
Yeah.
so underused.
It really is. It really all again, it comes to paying attention to their good qualities, paying attention to the little things that they do,
Mm,
and then voicing that.
yep.
Um, yeah, it's
And voicing it. Don't
yeah,
don't
voicing it.
assume don't
Right,
assume I told him once, so there you
right,
go. He knows.
right, right. Every time, especially when I come home and the kitchen is clean. Not that it's my job. Like we don't we don't do that in our house.
No, we
If the
don't
job
either.
needs to be done, whoever can do it does it. That's
Mhm.
kind of the rule. Um, and when I come home and the kitchen is clean, that I tell him every time,
Yeah.
every single time, thank you. When the laundry is done and he has it folded on the bed ready to put away, he says, thank you for doing the laundry.
Mhm.
The simple appreciation. Um, when I see uh, Tim, and I believe Chris is like this as well, such internal integrity to
Yeah.
do the right thing. When I see that, it's like, man, you are just so good, so good.
Yeah, and
And I like to
expressing that.
pinch his hiney.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of likes that.
I was like,
I,
"Kim, you're
I
into
like to
all
do
this
that in
deep
church. I
stuff."
smack him.
When you first read that, I mean, all I could think was about, lusting after him,
Mm,
which can I just say, I mean, I know that has, like, a real negative
yeah,
connotation, the word lust and whatever. So if you wanna add something, make it something else, admire, but
I
it's
would
more
say
than
desire in my heart. It
desire.
desire.
Yeah, 'cause mm, you know, yeah, I passionately
Mhm,
love looking at him. How's that? And it's not always sexual, but a
mm,
lot of time it is.
mm.
But yeah, it
When
just
when is the when does all that passion and desire when you're looking at him, what is he doing? Like, what or can we go
maybe it
or
can be the most
can we
here we go. It can be the
what
most mundane thing, but,
yeah,
I adore the confidence that he has in
mm,
just being without clothes. That is, I find, very appealing, and a lot of it is that I don't feel the same sort of
mm,
natural just freedom that I
mhm, mhm,
see him, and he's always had that since the day we got married.
mm,
And in fact, that was the one of the very first things that just, uh, thrilled my soul. Uh,
mm.
was when he got up and walked across the room naked on our wedding night, and I just remember it like that was the most intimate, beautiful. I mean, forget all the other, forget having sex. We had just had
Right.
this, that was so intimate to me, watching him just very confidently get up and walk across the room as if we'd always been able to be that way with one another.
Mm,
And, that I find so incredibly attractive, right? His
mhm,
confidence and just, yeah. But I love letting him know every single bit of him that I admire. And sometimes
mm,
it's at the weirdest times. And,
mm,
you know, the other day it was just when we where we live, we have an elevator going up and down. And we were in the elevator and the door closed and he just looked at me and just smiled, and it was just the twinkle in his eye,
mm,
that just was like, "Oh my word." And so I told him right then and there, "Man, I just love the way you look at me."
mm,
I love the way you look at me. I love
mhm,
the wrinkles around your eyes. I love the joy that I know is behind it,
Mm,
the admiration that is behind it.
mm.
I just love it, you know? And what does he do then? Like, he comes in and kisses me and, we
Mm.
have this little tiny, tiny passionate moment for the, 30 seconds that we're in the elevator before the door opens again. But man, that was a great way to start the day, you
And
know? Like,
it sounds it's like a little flirtation,
oh, for
like
sure.
we many people stop flirting.
Oh, yeah.
And we y you've it's so it comes so easy and so naturally when we're dating, and
Mhm.
maybe in the first few years of marriage, maybe. And then life happens, children, house, jobs, all that stuff,
Right.
and we forget how to flirt with each other, and I'm gonna go down this road. What's even more fun as a woman who's been married for 34 years is I can flirt in a sexual way
Right.
that's more fun and then can be fulfilled.
Yes.
And it's like, I kinda like that. I don't flirting doesn't have to always be sexual, um, and it just that playfulness is just very fun.
It is a playfulness that is only f that is only appropriate between him and I.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And I really believe that it is all of those moments put together that makes sex so amazing. Because I'm telling you, like, that day, the moment in the in the, elevator, then was
Mhm.
followed up with a text a little bit later.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then, and it's things throughout the day that makes when he comes home and when,
Mhm.
we're both together then,
Mhm.
man, we don't have a lot of work to do.
Mhm.
It's glorious. I mean, it's
Mhm.
really glorious.
Mhm.
But that comes from yeah, letting them know what you love about them
Mhm.
and not just physical. I mean, it like you said, it's his character and his heart and the things that he
Mhm.
does and the other day also uh Chris is under a lot of stress right now at work, and it's been unbelievable, and he's trying to get ready to go on this trip and trying to
Mhm.
leave things in a state that he can
Mhm.
really enjoy
Mhm.
the trip, and so a lot of long hours and craziness, and the other day he went to work on Sunday, and it was before a Monday morning meeting, and, he had worked a lot longer. He'd planned to work till, like, 2, and it was 4 before he was leaving the office, and
Oh.
then he doesn't get home, and he doesn't get home, and he doesn't get home, and after a while, I'm about ready to start, you know, calling and saying, "Alright,
Mhm.
are you okay? Have" "something
Mhm.
happened?"
Mhm.
And then he walks in the door and he said, "I'm sorry, it took me so much longer than I planned." He said, "I went by Walmart and bought you, windshield wipers and then installed them on your car." I was like, "First of all, I'm a grown woman, and I know I need windshield wipers, and I could have gone and gotten them myself, but
Yeah.
instead, I was just sitting here, enjoying my Sunday afternoon,
Right.
and, you could have just texted me and said, 'Hey, Beth, maybe, if you have a chance, maybe you could go get your
Yeah.
windshield wipers.'" But instead, he just goes and does it, but that's just who he is.
Yeah.
Um, and, but yeah, just affirming that and being thankful
Mhm.
for that,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I know somebody listening right now is gonna say, "Yeah, but my husband doesn't do that." But your husband does something, and,
Yeah.
that is Chris's love language. It's the way he serves, and, it's a beautiful thing, but your husband does something, right? So find what it is he does. Don't please today, don't get caught up in what we are saying. Think about what you can do. Don't think about what he doesn't do. So
Yeah. Yeah. And at the
there
same time, it's not
there I
all
was gonna
on
say
on
there's
your
a
shoulders.
what?
I'm so because it was interesting 'cause what was going on in my head is it takes 2 people to make a really good marriage. And while you're saying, "These are the things that I love and admire about him. I have such fondness for him," you also said, "The way he looked at you was a
Mhm.
look of admiration, was a look of love." So it's really a reciprocal it it has to be. Now, that doesn't mean that with when you have a decent human being that you're married to, you know, um, anything you do, you can start that reciprocity. You can start by having that conversation,
Right.
um, and it does take 2 people. You are only responsible for yourself, and it does
Right.
take 2 people.
It does. It 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 does. I also know that there are days, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know that there are days and there are times when Chris is completely consumed with the stress of his
Of
life and what is
course.
going on,
Of course.
where, I haven't seen him look at me in that way, and he
Yeah.
barely, he's barely there, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there are times then when I still have to, like, I still
Yes.
try to find the things, right?
Yes.
And maybe it's just in fact, this happened relatively recently where I was just, my uh, expression of appreciation was, um, I know things have been so hard for you.
Mhm.
I'm just so incredibly proud that you're someone that takes on these hard
Yeah.
challenges and just keeps
Right.
going, puts your
Right.
head down and
Yes.
just gets it done.
Yeah.
And, and that had nothing to do with him serving me or loving on me or
Right.
doing anything
Right.
magnanimous for me. It was really that I sat there and realized, wait, it's been a while and he hasn't been looking at me, right?
Right.
Because he's like, focus. So what is he focusing on? Well, he's focusing on work. Well, why is he focusing on work
Right.
like that? Well,
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
that's still a thing to admire. So
Right. So it's a
yes,
both.
it
It's a
takes
both and.
two.
Yeah. There's a both and because the bigger picture of your marriage is that it's reciprocal. The
Right,
bigger picture of your marriage. In
right,
those tiny moments,
right,
it may not be as reciprocal,
right, right.
and it will come back. So
Mhm.
s
Well, and, like,
it
when I said to him, "I
Mhm.
just really appreciate that you put your head that you're so committed to your thing." Then what does he do? He looks at me with that look, right?
Yes,
Like, because
exactly.
because
Yes.
he was so appreciative that I saw him
Yes,
and appreciated
exactly.
him.
So you did the
So
initiation and then the reciprocity came.
right,
So that is possible.
yeah,
Yes.
and I could have been
You could have been
sitting there moping
complaining. Or yeah,
and
you could be
complaining.
complaining.
Oh
Exactly.
my word.
Yeah.
And we've done it. I've done it, right?
Sure.
The times that you complain about something and then you realize later, "Oh my word.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I missed
Sometimes
it. I
some
missed what he was who he was in that moment."
yes, sometimes I complain about the very same thing that I am so proud of him for.
Yeah.
And that is, like, very similar to Chris, this giving heart that will do anything. Like, this random lady, pregnant lady who's walking on the side of the road, and it's a hot day, and he picks her up and he takes her home. And he gives her his phone number so that the next time she needs help, he can, I mean, that's just who he is. It's like, uh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or some
Alright,
neighbor
what's number
down the
3?
road. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I could keep
What's
going.
number 3? We're not gonna get
This
through 7 at this rate.
oh, well, yeah. The next one, turning towards each other.
Mm.
Which what we in human relationship, we will make bids for attention, small bids for attention. Um, and when you turn towards each other rather than away, when that bid for attention is met with a "I'm gonna look at you," that
Mm.
builds a relationship up.
Hmm.
And it can be a simple one of the things, um, that we have this family whistle, and we can be in a huge room, and when you hear that whistle, then you turn toward.
Mm.
And that's just that'll be a small bid for attention that Tim or I will do.
Mhm.
I will look at him, and then he'll wink at me, and then I'll smile big, and that's just we've turned towards each other.
Mhm.
grabbing your hand in the car, that's a turn towards each other.
Right.
They're not big things. They're not necessarily
No.
big attentions, but or you come home from work and you give each other a kiss, or you ask about the day. These little things that build relationship. And what John Gottman says, it's those, you said this earlier actually, in a different context. The little things
Mhm.
of being together and having that attention met is always better than the big things.
Mhm.
Like your
Yeah, I
trip to Hawaii is gonna be that's a big thing of
right.
you guys spending time together. It's gonna be more meaningful because your relationship is one where you turn towards each other constantly.
Yeah. 100%. Check, done. That's good.
Can't wait to go to Hawaii.
I cannot wait.
I mean, you just gave so many examples of him bidding for your attention in the elevator. Your bid for attention, and it's not like I'm attention seeking by just commenting on how hard he works. That was a bid for attention.
Yeah.
That was a
Well, it was.
bid for connection. Like,
Yeah, for
let's just
sure.
take this bid for connection is a better way of putting it than bid for attention, because you're just doing this little connect. There's a small connect. Are you gonna look at
Yeah.
me? Or are you gonna look away?
Yeah. I also think in this the one thing that I think about is the routines that we do that so many times we devalue routines simply because it's a routine. In other
Mhm.
words, the fact that
Mhm.
Chris kisses me every day
Mhm.
before he leaves and he
Mhm.
kisses me when he gets home every single day.
Mhm.
It's really easy to look at those as, I mean, yeah, he just does it every day. Like we take away the value and the meaning of that consistency
Mhm.
and that
Mhm.
that those rituals, and I think they're really beautiful, and
Mhm.
we can be intentional about valuing them and being thankful for them,
Mhm. Mhm.
and m maybe kissing a little slower sometimes, or when it's the goodbye kiss or the hello kiss, or
Oh,
you
the
know what I'm
hello
saying?
kiss should be at least 7 seconds. Did you
Yeah. Yeah.
7 seconds is a long time.
It's a long kiss. Ours are not always 7 seconds, I'll tell you
No.
that. But but I don't know, maybe it's just touching his cheek when he does,
Right.
or, taking those like, in those little tiny moments that are
Yeah.
just rituals, and sometimes it's completely internal, and don't underestimate the importance of those internal moments too, where
Mhm.
you're just thankful
Mhm.
that he came home to me and
Mhm.
kissed me when he walked in the door.
Mhm.
That it may be, or maybe I know some couples, like, when they just are having prayer for the meal,
Mm.
he
And they
always
hold
reaches
hands.
out and takes
Yeah.
her hand, and it's, you know, uh, those little things that are so many they're still turning toward each other,
Right.
and valuing that, I think, is
Yeah,
so important.
for
Yeah,
sure.
valuing it.
For sure. Yeah.
Alright, next one.
Next one, allowing your spouse to influence you, especially, and this is where it's gonna turn, and I wish we were talking to men here, but especially a husband allowing his wife to influence him. Because we women oh,
I'm dancing.
we women have a tendency, because we whether it's socialized or brain function or whatever, we tend to be more relational. So we tend to receive our man's influence more easily. It comes more naturally. That's a better way of putting it. It comes more naturally when your man, when the really listens to their wife and receives their influence and sees where their strengths are. I mean, this is what Tim, he's like, this is your strength, Kim. Raising the children, that is your strength. Relationally, that is your strength. I'm going to actually take your lead because that's where I mean, Tim's last sermon, I mean, it might as well have been me talking up there because of how I have been able to influence him, and he receives it that way. I apologize, my phone is ringing, so if you hear it, I'm so sorry. I'm not
No,
gonna
we can't
answer
hear
it.
it. We can't hear it. We
Okay,
can't
good.
hear it.
Okay, good.
So, 100%,
So tell me about your little dance. What was that about?
it is so beautiful. This is one of the things that where you say 33 years is just getting better.
Yeah,
This is one of the areas where it's just getting better.
yeah.
We have influenced each other. There
Mhm.
is no question.
Mhm.
I have
Mhm.
changed. I am not the same person
Mhm.
that I was before I married Chris, and I
Mhm.
am not the same person that I was 10 years ago, in this marriage. And, you know, in our relationship, he has influenced me in a really powerful and great way. But I'm here to tell you, he is not the same man either.
Mhm.
And there is so much that he learns from me every single day. And he will be the first. I mean,
Yep,
I'm not saying anything I know he would not say.
right.
For him to, we get into bed, and this is also very recent. And, we get into bed, and Chris, we always laugh about the fact that the second Chris's head hits the pillow, I have about 30 seconds, to have a conversation, and then he's out. So
Boy,
it's
wouldn't
like
that be nice?
you gotta hurry up
Yeah,
and
yeah.
take advantage. But what I also know is that the times that he spends a lot longer talking to me, oh,
Mhm.
those are beautiful because I know it is literally just a gift that he's giving me,
Mm.
and he's having to choose it and fight against falling asleep because that's what
Mhm.
he's wanting to do.
Mhm.
Anyway, but the other night he climbs into bed, and I don't even remember how it started, but oh, I know, I just asked him. I said, "Do you love me?"
Mm.
And he's like, "Yes, I love you." And I said, "Why do you love me?"
Mm.
And, I like questions that go both directions. So anyway, and the very first thing that came out of his mouth was, he said, "I love you because you're one of the smartest women I have ever known." And, for that to be, and then he proceeded to go on and tell me why, like
Mm.
why that was one of the things he was anyway. So yeah, there's something, I mean, those, oh my word, it was powerful,
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah,
So 100% learning from each other and
yeah,
being willing to be influenced by each other.
yeah.
That's a real for me, it comes down to really valuing who one another is
Mhm.
and how each other
Mhm.
thinks and
Mhm.
what,
Mhm.
and not discrediting that or
Mm.
ignoring that
Because
or
and sometimes it's discredited because it's not the way you think,
right,
or it's not the way you would do things, or it's not
right.
the way you whatever, and that makes you miss out. Yeah.
I think for anyone who still has children at home, I think this is one of the areas where we as women could stand to take a moment and actually listen and observe, because sometimes our we are really good at being mothers, but sometimes we want our husbands to be mothers instead of fathers. And
Mhm.
sometimes if we would step back and watch and listen and better understand, we would see the value in what they are doing as fathers instead of trying to turn them into being another mother as we are.
Mm.
So, yeah, I learned a lot from watching Chris father his children.
Mm.
And in
Mhm.
some ways, it was how I could better be a mother, and in other ways, it was how I could why what I was doing was so great as a mother, right? Like,
Yeah,
it goes
yeah,
both direction. But anyway, yeah, I
yeah,
agree with that 100%.
yeah.
Another one?
Solve your solvable problems. Happy couples solve their I mean, it sounds silly, but really that's one of the keys of like sit down. If it's solvable, solve it. And there are unsolvable problems, which is what we'll get to next. But being able to problem solve, figure it out, get things done, like moving.
Yeah,
That's a big problem. Working together to solve the problem. How are we going to do this?
yeah. I like Chris and I, every single year for our anniversary, we do the State of our Union.
That's pretty
And
cool.
we do it other times as well, like, and what we know is that sometimes like, sometimes Chris will just say, "So how's the state of our union?" Like, just randomly.
Mhm.
And I know what he's asking is, "Are we okay?"
Mhm.
Is there anything like, are we is there anything, that we need to
Mhm.
deal with?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
doing it on our anniversary intentionally always gives us, in fact, we were just this last week working on our plans for Hawaii, and he says, "You know what we haven't done?" And I said, "What we haven't planned for." And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "We haven't planned for some time where we're not planning. Like, we don't have plans, and
Mm.
where we have time to sit and just talk, like, to do our State of the
Mhm.
Union."
Mhm.
Like, we need to make sure that there's enough time that we just have opportunity to talk about that, because it's something that we both so value, and one of those things is, where have we been? Where are we now? And where do we wanna go? And in all of that, opportunities to share with each other the things that are going great and the things that we need to work on.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And you do it that way, and I think for Tim and I, when we're feeling distance from each other, when things are not quite right, we just like, okay, I miss you, or we're really busy and
Hmm.
we need to make some adjustments. So,
Yeah,
y- and I'm sure that that's part of your thing as well.
yeah.
I just want couples to know that there's more than one way to
Oh,
take
for
the temperature
sure.
of your relationship to make sure that everybody's needs are being met, and that the relationship is strong.
I mean, I know it's kinda old school, but a lot of people still really enjoy doing that, and that is having they have a family meeting or a
Yeah,
couple meeting every I couldn't do that.
I couldn't either. Yeah,
That was not for me.
right.
Um, and yeah.
Yeah. And now the next one is to manage your perpetual problems. And really, what that means is there are personality quirks
Mhm.
that we bring. Like it's not like a character flaw. It's not something that necessarily, though you try to change, you may not be able to. And what I'm thinking is the difference between my organization needs and Tim's organization needs that are very, very different. I can live in a little in more chaos
Mhm.
than he can. Um, and that is just something that's in me that, unless I'm thinking about it and I'm gonna intentionally organize things, um, that's not gonna happen. Like that, and so that is a perpetual problem,
Yeah.
in our marriage. And really that's comes to a place of acceptance, accepting me for who I am, him accepting me for who I am, me being aware in my head going, okay, I really need to be more intentional. I need to try. And then every once in a while it's like, "Yeah, I got to do something." And that's just a perpetual problem that's going to go until,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I was trying to think of a really current one with us, and for us, we're the similar,
Yeah. Yeah.
in that. But there's also, I really just simple things like he's more of an introvert, I'm more of an extrovert.
Mhm.
So when we need to re-energize, right, we have opposite
Mhm.
needs.
Mhm.
Um, and things like, Sunday mornings, we had to negotiate that because he always loves to get up and get at it and do something. He works every Sunday doing something. Like, there's
Mm.
always something he wants to do.
Mhm.
I would be very happy every Sunday to lay in bed
Mm.
until
I
10
do
when he brings
too.
me breakfast in bed. That would be fantastic. He does not bring me breakfast in bed every Sunday, so don't think. In fact, I can't remember the last time he did. But that would be a perfect day for me, right?
Right.
Like, to not have to put my feet on the floor until I've been served. So, but he sees it as a day to get projects done, and so we have to negotiate that, right?
Yeah.
Like, we have to kinda take turns and have some Beth days and have some Chris days, and, um So,
Yeah,
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 you have to manage we do have to manage, and there's other things too that are, great hurts or great,
Mhm,
disappointments about things that
mhm,
people have or financial challenges that you have
mhm.
or, there's all kinds of problems that are not fixable.
Yeah, yeah, and managing them and a lot of that comes to is like, we're gonna accept this about each other, and it might grate on our nerves every once in a while, but we're not gonna hold it against each other.
Yeah,
Like, this is just kinda part of who they are.
but I also think there's and
Thank you.
and we can learn
Yes, which goes back
to
to the influence.
yes,
Yeah.
and also to but it is also to I know that there are some things we can't like, you don't need to I'm not oh, I'm stumbling over my words because I don't wanna say this I in a way that's not honoring, but we can learn to appreciate even the things that once irritated us,
Mhm.
right? Like, to find how even just to see them this is what I call those things. I call those things, "This is what you're gonna miss about me when I'm dead," things. Like, I tell Chris, like, the other day, he comes around to my side of the bed, and I had too many times in our new apartment, like, my side of the bed, the floor, nobody ever sees. It's, like, kind of in the corner, and it's
Mhm.
anyway, you just don't see it. And so, too many times, like, I just take off my because I don't like to sleep with stuff on, so I just take off and jump in bed, and it just
Mhm.
would land there. Well, anyway, the other day, he comes around the side of the bed to kiss me goodbye,
Mhm.
and he was having to step over things, and then I said to him, I said, "When I'm dead, you're gonna be walking around your room, it's gonna be
Yes.
perfectly clean, there's never gonna be a
Right.
a a pair of underwear on the floor, and you're gonna think, 'I really miss Beth's underwear
Yes.
all over the floor.'" So
Exactly.
so those are the "You're gonna
Yeah.
really miss this when I'm dead"
Yeah.
things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
might be irritating, but at the same time, it's part of
Yeah.
the quirks that make them who they are. That's how I like to look
Exactly.
at it
Yeah.
as much as
Right.
possible.
Right. And the very last one is to have a shared meaning or purpose.
Mm.
Something that um and it can be lots of it can be big things, it can be small things like for I think for you guys, if I was to guess one of your shared meanings,
Okay,
that is to host people and have them come into your home.
for sure.
That is something that the 2 of you together bring, and it's a shared we love having people in our home.
The the other day, just out of curiosity, when Chris said, I think it's just because of, like, our personalities or how we are, whatever, um, he then said and I know some people don't like Enneagram stuff, so whatever, but
Yeah.
he just said, "I think it's because I'm a 2 and you're a 7." And so I was just curious, and I looked up and kinda read about 2 and 7s, and do you know
Mhm.
that's one of the things that they talk about?
Yeah.
Hosting. Being hospitable, that is a huge part of both 2s and 7s in different ways.
Yeah.
So for 7s, it's all about having fun, for 2s, it's all about serving, and so the combination together, they say, make really great hosts. Like,
I
who
actually
knew?
was listening to a podcast the other day, and the person being interviewed was a 7, and it was like, "Well, what sounds fun to you?" It was what that sounds
Mhm,
fun. And his answer was hosting people, having them come to my house
mhm.
and giving them the best time of their lives. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, he just took that out of Beth's mouth." That's what it made me think of.
But I'd never seen how the 2 so perfectly fits with
Yeah,
that. So, but yeah,
yeah,
it is. It definitely is.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that would be that's an idea of a shared purpose. It can
And
be
for you
even
and Tim, it is eh, I mean, it has to have something to do with healing
yes.
people.
Yeah,
With him, it's in and through ministry, and
yeah,
for you, it's in and through both ministry, but also your counseling. So
yeah,
or
yeah.
therapy, sorry.
Well, in all honesty, that's one of the main things that brought us together was feeling the call to pastoral ministry.
Mm.
We both felt called to that.
Mm.
It didn't happen for 20 years, thank the Lord in heaven, because boy, we would have messed ourselves up, we would have messed our churches up, and we would have surely messed our kids up more than they already are. Um, yeah. But yeah, you're right. Ministry is a very shared purpose.
Mm.
And we're both introverts, so
That's awesome. Oh my word.
so that's it. Those are John Gottman's 7 things.
Yeah, if you're interested in reading more, you go look up his stuff. Their stuff. It's him and his wife,
Yeah,
and
him and his wife.
I've heard them on many podcasts. It's fascinating. They're
Really
great,
good. Yeah.
great interview. One I was it on. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Anyway, you can find them. Just search. But all right. Anything else you want to share? That
I do. I think there's one key characteristic,
hmm,
that kind of overarches everything,
hmm,
and I think that's humility
hmm.
in both people.
Yeah.
I I really do honestly believe that humility, teachableness, listening,
I was gonna say in some ways that really encompasses so much of
yeah,
what we've already been talking
mm,
about, about being influenced by one another.
mhm,
You th you have to have some humility for that to happen,
yeah.
right?
You have to have humility in order to apologize. You
Yeah.
have to have humility to change things that you do, how you do things. You have to have humility to be influenced. You have to have humility to listen to who they are.
Yeah.
I really do think that humility is a key component to making any relationship work.
Yeah. So, I know that some of these others are a lot less, like, deep. Here we go, but some of the things that I just that really are important to us,
Mhm.
laughter.
Mhm.
Find make be intentional
Play
about finding
together.
things to
Mhm.
laugh about or just being silly or,
Yeah,
you know, yeah, just if you haven't laughed in a while, find something to laugh about. It
yeah,
is so important to laugh.
it is. Mhm.
And I love just being silly and funny, and he finds me funny, so that's
Yeah,
even better.
yeah.
Um, the other thing and we keep saying we're gonna do a whole thing on sex. And we are gonna do a whole thing on sex one of these
Okay.
days. And we don't have time for a whole thing on sex. But it is
We have 3 minutes.
I know, but it's so important. Like, sex is so important. So, and not this is completely unsexy, but it has really been a beautiful thing for Chris and I, and that was back when I was traveling a lot. It would we would find ourselves getting into a rhythm of just not like it was I'm getting in late, you know, you know what I'm saying? Like we just
Mhm.
wouldn't like we just find ourselves as like, oh my word, it's been,
Too
you know,
long.
too long.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we just made a commitment that we would make sure that at least every single week from Sunday to Sunday, that no matter what was going on, we would find a way to have
Mhm.
sex. And
Mhm.
so we come down to, like, by any chance that last day, it's happening
Mhm.
because we made a commitment to each
Yeah.
other. And I know that
Yeah.
sounds so silly and so unsexy, but can I tell you, like, wow, has it made things better because
Yeah.
most of the time it's way more than that. But, occasionally
Yeah.
with travel or with, just life, it's easy
Mhm.
for other things to get in the way, and it's just a reminder, "Well, wait a second. We're down to we've got 2 days, so when's it gonna happen?"
Right. Yeah. Honestly, we do it's not like one in my head, I am like, "Okay, it's we don't go more than a week." Like, in my head, there's no way that I'm gonna let it go more than a week, but it's very intentional. It's like, "Okay, we need to this needs to happen." It It definitely needs to happen. And
Yeah.
for me, because I am not, I am m my desire is more, reactionary rather than spontaneous.
Mm.
My desire will build
Mhm.
more from reaction than it is internal as, like, so sometimes I have to decide, like,
Yes.
I'm going to make the decision. The decision
Absolutely.
is it's going to be tonight, so I'm going to let him know and make sure that that works for him, usually does, and then put things into place
Yeah.
so that my reactions will, like it'll happen.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And listen.
we could do a whole conversation about a lo yeah, we
Yeah,
will, we
we
will.
need to, and we will, but
I think we're just really
absolutely, you
shy.
know eh well, we don't have much time, I don't wanna get into it,
Right,
but
right.
no, 100%, and I think, choosing it is really important, making
Mhm.
the decision is really important, and also, I'm sick and tired of well, we have to if anyone is still out there waiting for him to initiate it, cut that out,
Yeah.
or even if he initiates it all the time, try to squeeze one in where you're initiating it
Yeah.
because I just think it's so important for it to be kind of a mutual going back and
Yeah.
forth, but you've gotta step it up and just, choose it. And sometimes what we will do too is, when in choosing it is, sometimes I'll just point blank send him a text and say,
Uh-huh. I've done
like,
that too.
"Hey, if it's good for you, we need
Mhm.
to get it on tonight."
I have done the
And
same thing.
and, dirty I don't like saying dirty, suggestive or sexual emojis or, text to each other or
Mhm.
whatever it is you want to do. But just, ways of but a lot of times, you know, he'll just he'll just send me a smiley face and say, you know,
Mhm.
"I can't wait till
Mhm.
such and such a time."
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but those things help get us ready.
Yes. Yeah.
'Cause that's important. So,
Very.
yeah, but anyway, sex is a really important one. Okay, one other thing I want this is just to women. I'm always asking Chris, "What are you thinking? What you thinking about?"
Mhm.
He alway and when they say nothing,
They mean it.
they mean it. Believe it,
Yes,
accept it.
because they can do that. We can't, but they can.
I told him the other day, I was being particularly, insecure. I don't know, I was just having a moment, and I was sharing with him I said, Here's the deal. Like, when I asked you what was going through your head, I said, I was asking you because this is what was going through my head. And I
Mhm.
shared with him
Mhm.
all of the crap that was going through my head that
Mm.
had no business going through my head.
Mm.
And it was filled with insecurities and,
Mhm.
you know, doubt about myself and so on and so forth. And it all was, you know, combined. I mean, I was putting it all on him, that wondering if he was
Mhm.
thinking all of
Mhm.
these things.
Mhm.
And then when he said, "No, just nothing." I couldn't believe that.
Well,
Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And so when I shared, talking about knowing one another. So when I was
Yeah.
vulnerable enough to share with him what I had been
Yeah.
thinking. First of all, he was like, "Wow, that's a lot." But then was able to assure me that he was truly not thinking any of those things. And then he said, "And if I had been thinking about anything, what I would have been thinking about is," and then he corrected my wrong assumptions.
Well,
Anyway, but believe them,
yeah.
they can
There
do
are
it.
they can do the nothing thing.
They can do the nothing thing.
We can't.
We do not.
We do not. Definitely not.
We do
There's
not.
always something going on. All right,
Yeah.
Miss Beth, in the last 24 hours, what has brought you laughter, joy, or a smile?
Oh, jeepers, I wasn't ready.
Ha! That beat you to the punch. Do you wanna think? Because 'Cause I've got one. It
Yes,
works
please, go
it
ahead.
works beautifully with our conversation.
Okay.
Tim and I, it is not our habit to eat lunch together. That is just not something that we do. Our days are very full, especially with me with therapy. Like my just doesn't happen. Well, I got a text at 10:30 yesterday that said, Do you wanna go out to lunch together?" And that just brought me not only I mean, the text brought me joy because it's something out of the ordinary. It's something that he thought of. It's something that I could do. And so we had and then further joy, we had lunch at Panera Bread yesterday and just chatted, and it was
Mm,
just nice. It was
that's
just so
awesome.
nice.
Yeah, so I came up with mine.
Good.
Um, so I like I told Kim at the very beginning, I started having hot flashes again, and one woke me up at 3:30, 4 o'clock this morning,
Oh, that's miserable.
and I picked up my phone to see what time it was, and I decided to do Wordle because what else do you do when you're
Right, because
coming out of your
if
skin?
you don't know what hot flashes do to you, you can't like, there's no going back to sleep. There's this
It's
anxiety that comes
yes.
with the
N
hot flash, so it's not just heat. It's like
Nobody told me about that, Kim.
you are completely awake. It's like, "How could I be awake as if it's daytime?"
It's like restless leg on steroids because it's
It's
restless
just
body. The
awful.
whole body, your body, your
Mhm,
mind,
mhm,
every
mhm,
limb, every bit
mhm,
of you. It's like
mhm.
not pins and needles, but pins and needles. Like,
It's
it's just so awful.
yep,
It's anxiety, like, I've never experienced
yep.
anxiety, and it's just awful. So, anyway,
Mhm.
so I'm laying there,
So
and
you're
I
doing
decide
Wordle. Sorry.
I'm doing Wordle, and I get it in 3, which I was very excited.
Woo!
And, I then notice that Chris picks up his phone. And I whisper, "I'm so sorry if I woke you." And he said, "Nope, I've been awake for a while." And so then we just like I just turned over and we started talking. And
Mhm.
then he had purchased some stuff for the well, he'd actually bought a couple pieces of clothing on Amazon for our trip. And I told him, I said, "I mean, I feel like you need to give me a fashion show." And he was like, "Okay." And he gets up. This is
At 4
4:30 at this
o'clock in
point.
the that's
Yeah.
awesome.
He goes out, he gets the clothes, and he's just, changing in front of me. And I was just sitting there soaking in him in all of his glory. And it
That's
just made me
amazing.
smile. And I was, a couple of the outfits I'm so excited about and can't wait to get to Hawaii because they're very resort wear, which he doesn't wear much.
Mm.
And so anyway, I'm very excited and it was just a really fun moment. And then he crawled back in bed and said, "I think I'm ready to go back to sleep." I
There
was
you
like,
go.
"Okay."
That works.
But it was wonderful. It was
That's
wonderful.
terrific. That
Yeah.
is terrific.
It was definitely a smile. So, um, all right. Well, I hope any words for our married listeners, men and women? Like
Enjoy each other. Try to remember what brought you together and what
yeah.
you loved and deepen that.
Yeah, and the theme of joy in the weeds, I just say
Mhm.
it is so easy in life and in
Mhm.
marriage to start focusing on all the weeds that have gone and before, that you've experienced. And, but you also can take the opportunity to remember what the joys were, like you were saying, the things
Yeah.
that brought you together. And yeah, and find some things. When we ask this question at the end of every podcast, it's an exercise
Yeah.
to remember, like, right this morning, like, today, I was like, "Well, I haven't thought," and
Right.
I started thinking about yesterday, and I could not come up with I had a migraine yesterday, and so I
Mm.
just couldn't come up with anything that fit, and
Mhm.
then it was like, "Wait a minute, 4 o'clock this morning was
Mhm.
fantastic." So
Exactly.
but it's an exercise
Yeah.
in finding the joy. So find the joy, find the laughter, find the smile in your marriage.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right. Thanks a lot. You guys go and have some great joy. Thank you so much for joining us today. We would really love to hear from you. So please find us. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Joy in the Weeds. You can also email us. Our email address is joy@carolinasda.org. That's joy@carolinasda.org. Now, we hope that today, as you navigate the weeds, you will also hold on to moments of joy. This podcast is a production of the Carolina Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.